Okay, Pete, North Las Vegas. I'm boroscoping the Wilson Combat 18-inch barrel. And right now we're looking at the gas port. I just ran a patch through it to kind of clean the barrel out. And you can see where the patch is getting hung up on the gas port hole a little bit. So there's kind of a rough edge there if you look down at the bottom of the screen. And then let me come in here a little bit more. And you can kind of see where there's maybe some chips or a little bit of leftover. They didn't quite get that gas port smoothed out. So what I'm going to do is probably run some JB paste down here, stick a drill bit in the hole, or stick something down the hole and see if I can clean that out a little bit. And then we'll go down. The rest of the barrel is just immaculate. We'll go take a look at the lands. Okay, so there's the lands, and really good job on those. And apologize about the camera work here. Anyway, I'm not going to show you all of the lands because it's kind of hard to do this one-handed, but they're all even, and they're all machined very nice into the rifling. So we'll take a look at some of the rifling in the grooves. Some really nice work. No real chatter marks or machining. The only issue I have is that gas port. And I'm gonna get that cleaned up right now, and then we'll do another real quick clip after I get it cleaned up. Okay, so right now I'm just using a drill bit just to kind of, and this isn't the right size. This drill bit's a little too small, but I'm just trying to knock some of the leftovers over on that gas port. And then I'm gonna come in with some paste and see if I can smooth it out, at least to the point where I'm not worried about it anymore. Okay, so I ran a brush through it. You can still see a little bit of leftovers on that hole. And then you can see it from the top. I don't think paste is going to get rid of that, but maybe we'll get it smoothed out. And after X amount of rounds through the barrel, I'm sure that'll all disappear. But I don't know. The amount of money I spent on this barrel, I just think they should have hand lapped it or drilled that hole a little better, in my opinion. But I don't think it's going to affect barrel accuracy, but I just not liking what I'm seeing. Okay, so the paste kind of got the sharp edges knocked down a little bit, just a tiny bit, enough to where the patch doesn't really catch on the hole anymore. So that's going to be good enough, and I'll just, the rest will happen during break-in when we get a few rounds down the barrel. So moving on. Okay, so we're going to put the barrel on the upper receiver. I'm using a Midwest Industries, what they call their Combat lightweight handguard. So that's their barrel nut right there, 40 foot-pounds. I'll be using a Midwest Industries upper receiver rod. This is their 308 version. My opinion, the best on the market. Okay, so something I want to talk about was a thing called galvanic or dissimilar metal corrosion. And there's some talk on the internet about what you should use for grease when you put the barrel nut on there and torque it, what type of grease you should use on the threads, the barrel, and maybe a little bit on the inside of the receiver. It's generally accepted that aeroshell is probably the way to go and minimize any potentials of corrosion. If you know a little bit about corrosion in metals, I'm Navy trained. I was sent through avionics corrosion control school, aircraft corrosion control school, and we learned a little bit about shipboard corrosion. So if you're ever wondering how you can haul Navy aircraft around 90 feet above the ocean and not have them just turn into a big pile of rust, well, that's what all that training was about. Okay, so galvanic or dissimilar metal corrosion, basically one metal will act as an anode The other metal will act as a cathode. And generally, they won't corrode much unless there's an electrical path between the two. And that can be contaminated water, like salt water or any kind of water that's got a bunch of minerals or garbage in it. Anything that can conduct electricity can cause galvanic or dissimilar metal corrosion. Generally, if these are kept perfectly dry and they can sit right next to each other and not a whole lot's going to happen, it's going to be a lifetime or two before you see any corrosion. But the thing on the internet is everybody says, you know, don't use copper NICs, especially this stuff with graphite in it. And, you know, that's going to cause the electrical path I was talking about, and you're going to get corrosion. I've been using this stuff for off and on since the 90s. And I've gone back and taken a couple rifles apart for upgrades and whatever. And I've never had any issues of corrosion using copper NICs. I also took my digital multimeter and did a little experiment, which is not proof of anything, but I got the meter leads and kept moving them closer in the copper NICs to see when I would see any conductivity. And I never did until the leads actually touched each other. So if this stuff does in fact conduct a little bit of current to hasten corrosion, my little test didn't show it. Okay, so we'll talk about what the military says to use. And let me flip to the page here real quick and we'll show you what's going on with that. Okay, so the type of lubricant on the barrel nut receiver and barrel, what the military recommends is molybdenum disulfide, and that's the mil spec number. And everybody online says, oh, use aeroshell. Okay, there's like 10 different types of aeroshell grease. So what type should you use? Okay, well, the only aeroshell that calls out this military spec number is aeroshell 64. And that meets the mil spec requirements called out for in the handbook here. So if you're worried about corrosion and you want to go with what the Marine Corps or the Army says, use the aeroshell 64. I'm personally not worried about it. Should you be? I don't know. You'll have to decide on your own. But anyway, we're going to go out in the garage and get this spun together off camera. I'll be putting a bunch of blue painter's tape around this before I stick it in the vise. And as I said earlier in this clip, 40 foot-pounds on the Midwest Industries barrel nut is what they recommend. Okay, so I forgot to mention, when you order their gas tube from them, you'll also get a pin. So now I got 2 pins in case I mangle one up. Okay, so you can see not much clearance with that gas tube. Just kind of makes it in there. Okay, so we managed to get the straight gas tube in here without mangling up the roll pin. So we're getting ready to put this thing on. Wilson Combat comes with a dimple, so there should not be any alignment issues. RifleSpeed sends the correct serrated Allen or cap screws. I'm going to use orange. This has the holding power of red, but you don't need heat to get things back apart. So that's why I'm going with orange on the set screws. Okay, so the way I put these on is I'll put the set screw into the dimple first, just kind of snug it up. Then I'll come back and put the outboard in that does not have the dimple with Loctite, snug it up. Then I'll pull that set screw out that's in the dimple and put Loctite on it. And then this thing will be installed. All right, so far so good. Nothing's touching. Get the bolt in here and see what happens. Okay, perfect alignment on the gas key, tube, bolt, Charging handle. Beautiful. Okay, well that's your anti-rotation tab that fits over the top of the gas tube into the groove. The long end faces the rear. If you try to put it on the other way, it's going to overhang the barrel nut, and then you'll realize that that's not the way it goes on. So anyway, we'll get this thing lined up and screwed on there. I'm probably going to go get a scope mount and just clamp it on there while I tighten everything up to make sure that everything stays perfectly in alignment. 40 inch-pounds barrel nut, 40 foot-pounds handguard screws, 40 inch-pounds. Okay, so I use my American Defense rail that's on this Steiner just to bridge across the receiver to the handguard to make sure everything stayed in alignment while I tightened up the pinch bolts. As far as I can tell, just looking down the barrel, the flutes on the barrel, everything seems to be pretty much perfectly lined up. If you look down the front here, you can see depending on the camera angle, how I'm hitting it. Everything looks lined up and straight inside. So I think I might have mentioned this in one of the other videos. I have seen a couple of videos on this Midwest Industries upper where when you start tightening these pinch bolts down, it has a tendency to pull the handguard off center a little bit. Well, I didn't have that problem. Everything stayed in perfect alignment. And I'm still waiting on parts for this. I won't be able to finish it today. I'm waiting on my muzzle brake. It's just going to be a standard A2 bird cage. Seeing how I have this adjustable gas system, I'm not worried about a bunch of recoil. And 308s, in my opinion, they don't kick that much. If you're in good health, you don't have any shoulder issues or back issues or whatever, and you shouldn't have to worry about recoil on a 308. That's just my opinion. But anyway, I just got one last check to do. I'm going to go in the kitchen. I have a granite tabletop that's perfectly flat, and just to double check and make sure that this thing is, like I was saying, didn't get pulled up or down or went off kilter when I tightened everything down. But anyway, we're almost done with it. So I'm going to go ahead and put some offset sights on it right now. I still have a few things left to do on the lower. And then after that, we'll put this whole thing together and take it out to the range and see what it does. Okay, one last thing before I sign off. This is a 15-inch handguard. 18-inch barrel rifle length gas system. So 18-inch barrel rifle length gas system, 15-inch handguard, and you can kind of get an idea how far this RifleSpeed sticks out, which is about right. You want to have enough to get a hold of, I think. So here's the particular model number that I used for this particular configuration. The 75 stands for journal size, so that's .750 journal size. And then that's 33 means 3.3 inches. And I don't remember from what part of the gas block that 3.3 inches is. It may be from the very back of the gas block to the front is 3.3 inches in length. I don't remember. But like I said, if you go to their website, they have an excellent configurator. They have good instructions. They have a question section. I mean, I think if you go to their site, if you're thinking about using one of these, they make it really easy. All right, well, I think that's going to be it for now. Pete, North Las Vegas, over and out. Okay, bonus clip, just whenever I think I'm done. So I checked this handguard and the receiver rail on my granite countertop, which is very, very flat and very straight. And the light might be playing some tricks on you, but there is no issues with this Midwest Industries rail and my receiver after tightening. So it stayed in alignment. It's perfectly flush, perfectly plumb. All right, once again, for real, Pete, North Las Vegas, over and out.